Okay, so this is a picture of a quantum computer. This is an image of something that we're told is a quantum computer, but at this point, I'm very certain it is a decoy. It is something that we're told is a quantum computer, but is very easily fake technology that was originally used to identify the actual technology that serves the purposes of a quantum computer in the first place in the agenda of Satanists. I'm not sure what quantum computers do for Satanists other than help them figure out the mathematical formulas necessary to chemically control the whole planet in very subtle ways, causing a butterfly effect. But I sound very schizo. I sound very, conspiracy theorist, saying, well, all these gigantic devices are merely being used to drop a precise amount of some chemical some chemical solution in the right part of the world to cause a chemical to cause the right fluctuation and the chemical balance of the whole planet, to exploit things happening and causing people to do certain things, and just cause an infinite amount of other subtle actions that cause the right thing to happen for Satanists. So I really don't want to say the quantum computer is merely for that purpose. I have no idea what quantum computers could do, other than they might, if that's not the only purpose, it's also for sifting through the vast database of all computers on Earth and being able to precisely pull out whatever information they need at any one time. Because I know maybe it is just to regulate all the computers on Earth. Then I know if they can regulate all computers on Earth, they very easily just want to cover up the idea, or cover up people discovering how technology is used to literally absorb the function of human neurons firing in pain. Like, if there is going to be some technology in the future that absorbs human pain, like I don't know, if you were to put a human on an operating table, cut them open, and somehow hook up all their neurons or all their nerve endings to an electrical live wire, like a live current of electricity, and you're meant to cause that pain. If you could somehow wake them up after they were dead, I'm pretty sure they've been working on this for a long time, and they worked on this long before I was born. But I'm scared that they've perfected it, and they just they hook up somebody's neurons or their nerve endings, they electrocute them. They can say they have the ability to wake them up after they're dead, but they do it after they're dead, and they say the person will actually feel the neurons firing even though they're dead. Then, because they can make the neurons respond using a chemical equation, using precise chemical equation. Yeah, because humans are pretty expensive in this day and age. We have so many chemicals in us, and we have so many random things in us. They can say it's possible. Then once they've got the human neurons firing, there's some kind of response or stimuli generated from the neurons firing, but that's completely dependent on Satanists being able to confirm that electricity is generated from a human body in the first place. Electricity must be happening inside the human body long before they do this procedure. Like, they must confirm the brain creates electricity, the body and all its nerve endings have electricity in it. And that's, that is why I know the way we're taught Western science is completely exploitable for racists to keep on saying that they can control the afterlives of people, control their own shamanic practices about how they treat their own death, treat their own brains deterioration after death, because that's basically what we have to believe the afterlife is just the human brain deteriorating, either at a fast rate or a slow rate, or in any rate that they could exploit and say, well, if the brain doesn't shut down in this amount of time, we can superconduct their soul into the animal, into an animal that's into a pregnant laboratory rat or some shit like that. And I don't know if that's possible. I would not know if that's possible. And my whole life I've been believing that reincarnation is real. And if Satanists have been controlling where people go when they die, I wouldn't know, but I was convinced it was real. I don't know if I should stop believing in it because it might be something they want me to believe in. But I believed it was real only because I believed that shamanic practices were effective and real. I also know that when people go to sleep, they can sometimes experience alternate realities, or they can sometimes experience some form of astral projection, just like remote viewing their surroundings, remote viewing where they are, in the sky or whatever, because they're asleep. But I don't want to talk very thoroughly on that. What I do want to say is that I don't believe that the human body generates electricity. I don't believe the human body after death could generate anything that Satanists can exploit other than physiology itself, other than the micronutrients in the body that accurately nourish them and help them build their foreign DNA of having eaten other dead people precisely, because they would just be eating, they would be doing that to absorb that person inside them, superconduct their tendencies, their memories, their everything they can say, they can take away from a human body after it's dead, after they do sacred, disgusting rituals to it. And I can say they have the person's memories, they have their precise physiologies, and maybe their previous brain states were recreated in their own mind, like whatever micronutrients were in that person's brain from a specific time ago. They can recreate it. They can also recreate it from the person's body fluids, their blood, urine, semen, vaginal fluids, hair, anything, any part of the body. And that's why I know that the way that I've been taught Western science operates is exploitable for racists, because I have to believe that the human physiology is important, is especially important because it regulates how we manifest precisely in the world. Human neurology is controlling emotions. Human neurology is controlling your IQ. Human neurology is controlling so much about how a person reacts to their environment and other people. And, then we are precisely believing that there are things happening inside the human mind that can be precisely controlled when the person is alive or dead. And then you're completely at the mercy of Satanists saying, well, this person did what they were supposed to do their whole life, And that's why we're not going to send them to hell by superconducting their soul into the body of a zoo animal, or into an unborn fetus of a zoo animal about to be born in a zoo. Okay, no. But and that's why I'm thinking, it might not be real that humans generate electricity at all in their brains or in their neurons. Or in their nerve endings in their body. Whether or not they've proven that this is real, it's still a result of so many people learning Western science the way they want them to, and having perfected this shamanic ritual for hundreds of years, long before anyone they want to use it on was born. And that's why I'm pretty sure it would never serve my own agenda to learn biology, microbiology, electrical engineering, quantum mechanics. All of these systems, these models of information connect with one another and build upon one another. And whether or not they build a model of information that's less exploitable for races who want to build a pain footprint or build technology that can somehow absorb the stimulus response of human nerve endings firing and pain, and being able to upload that into a digital medium and upload that into a 3D medium where people can exploit it for some profitable use in being able to say that they are experiencing abject pain in some moment when they are not, and they are just causing someone else to be in abject pain in the ancient past, that they hooked up to this pieces of technology, and they saved them in microchips and put these microchips into a gigantic mosaic all over a continent, and said there was civil war happening, some kind of tumultuous human event that was noticeable from outer space because the microchips were all giving off this frequency, giving off that information that they want to use. They want to say is human neurons firing, and it's a bunch of people, not just one person's pain being absorbed through their technology and being projected everywhere, and saying that it's a bunch of people dying. I have no idea how something like that is possible, but I'm gonna say it's not possible, and it's something that maybe they wanted me to talk about and say it wasn't possible before they caused it to be possible somehow. I don't know, because then I look like an unevolved person, and then they can condemn me even worse. And that's the whole point, is that they need to condemn people who try to refute Western science, because there's no reason anyone should distrust Western science. There's no reason anyone should believe that the way technology is used in this day and age is harmful to people, because, the way the world works, we are kind of dependent on phones. We're kind of dependent on being very self-absorbed in media and in social networking, in easy methods of industrial production, mass production, easy methods of food production, easy methods of transportation, and so forth. And I don't want to inspire anyone to come up with anything less racist at this point. I don't want to be able to make them say that I caused them to think about things intricately and differently, that they could actually generate a new world where all the technology that exists is somehow completely not racist, and it was created from somebody questioning everything that exists in our world. And how everything is built in this world and saying it's racist. Racists can exploit it for this purposes and blah, blah, blah. And I have no doubt that that has happened somehow. It happened somewhere in human history, not within my lifetime, not in the past, not in the future. I don't know when it happened because it wouldn't be profitable for me to know when it happened. But it happened someplace, somewhere. Everything in our world is called racist anyway. And maybe this whole planet is a zoo for racist people who create fake technology that inceptions people who don't create fake technology and don't create technology that's exploitable for racists. But I'm just going to say that I wouldn't know what that looks like because I wouldn't understand how Western science couldn't be exploitable for racists by the terms that I have assessed, by all the things that I've ever learned and forgotten deliberately about Western science. And in that way, people can say, well, maybe you just didn't learn it the right way. Maybe if you can't recite what you've learned, how can you prove that you've ever learned it? I still say that it's not profitable for me. It's not advantageous for me to talk about it and prove that I know it, because then I'm having to prove that I superconducted the precise algorithms, chemical equations, or scientific processes needed to exploit me precisely as a victim of holistic genocide my entire life. Because, if they're rebuilding my physiology with my own DNA that they say is going to work because they're using shamanic practices, they're using their satanic practices to superconduct my thoughts, learning to mitigate their actions using Western science, then I have no way of stopping them, and you could say, well, if you're just an overvigilant Christian, you're self-absorbed in your religion, you're always praying and going to church, then it's not going to work on you. And if you say it's going to work, then it'll work. If you believe that it's going to work, it'll work. But that's the whole problem. Everyone's dependent on their environment not changing and being at its very best, being at the environment that they wish for it to be. And I'm not going to say that I have, their people have controlled my environment their whole lives or my whole life. I don't want to say that is real. But I just want to make people understand that a colonized world is a prearranged environment of itself, and whether or not they're interacting within my environment, whether or not they're coming into my environment and changing things up, interacting with me in some subtle manner, whether it be in a classroom, at school, in a doctor's office, in a grocery store, wherever, whether or not they're coming within my proximity, all of the places that I could possibly ever go are prearranged settings that they may or may not have already controlled long ago to precisely exploit me under their own conditions of using chemical equations to cause transmutation in their selected individuals. And that's still a shamanic ritual that they've had, a huge mass of people believe in and perfect in their minds for hundreds of years, a very long time. And there's no reason for anyone to believe that it hasn't worked precisely. I mean, if it worked precisely on me, and I believed it worked precisely on me, perhaps it's worked precisely on everyone. But I would not know, because I'm not sure if it has ever worked precisely on me, because I would say that all of my problems should be cured. I should have never developed parasites. I should have never been in pain my whole life, I would have never been born as a human who could feel pain in the first place, because I would have never been subject to things that could cause me to feel pain as a child. I would have had a completely painless existence. I also would have been able to commit suicide if I wanted to as a little kid, so that I don't help them with their transmutation ritual, because the whole premise of them doing this to someone is them being able to say, if someone is born retarded, they can do whatever they want to them because they're genetically inferior. They were genetically predisposed to mental retardation. They were born retarded, and so therefore nobody cares what happens to them, and they can do whatever they want to that person. And in order to accomplish that, they need to demonstrate that the person is mentally retarded. And the most efficient way to do that is to just prove that this person is going to refute Western science, despite it having mitigated some hardship they may have experienced throughout their life. And in the Western world, there's so much hardship that could have been generated by Western science itself. A person who's born feeling pain can have their pain mitigated by Tylenol. A person born in the Western world experiencing it is a stomach bug that was easily created from very terrible environments generated by factory farming. So much of the problems that Western science cures is also a problem that it generates, that is generated from it. And they can say, before Western science was perfected, people still experienced parasites. They still experienced bacteriophages that killed people very efficiently and quickly. But that's still us dependent on believing how human history was told by Satanists, by the winners of human history. They have this much control. If I'm to believe they have this much control, then they rewrote human history to their advantage, and they want people to believe that all humans on Earth have been thoroughly colonized by them very early in human history, and that